I like to learn how you handle those quote unquote broken times. How do you restore that? Who took the initiative? What are some practical tips in communication?
Yeah. So there's that question, what would Jesus do, right? Always have that question in the back of your mind. What would Jesus do in every situation? And for my parents, I think it was 60% of the times they would come to me and they say they're sorry. And 40% of the times I would take my own initiative. And I think a good practice, a good skill almost to have is try to be the first person to initiate, to resolve it, right? Because if both people think the other person's gonna do it, it's probably not gonna happen. So muster up the courage, right? And when you talk to them, don't just, go in and right away be like, oh, I think you're wrong, like all this, right? You wanna ask them questions. I think that's a very good way to see why they did what they did. So if, for example, if my friend, if I didn't invite him to something, right, and he got his feelings hurt, and I knew about it, I won't go to him. I'll be like, okay, so first, I probably ask, what did I do wrong from your perspective? Because what you think they did, what you think that they think you did wrong, might not be what they actually think, right? So you want to figure out what they didn't like, and then from there you start asking questions about, just more in detail. Try to figure out where they're coming from. I think the biggest thing: ask questions, ask what would Jesus do. Those two big things.
I love that, Joshua. And I always say, even though if you may have just 10% wrong, and you're so right, at your young age, you're already so mature and wise. We take the initiative to take on your portion of the responsibility to apologize and then to ask questions, right? Not to accuse and assume that you're right or they're wrong, but you ask clarifying question.
And I think one more thing that just popped in my head. I think when you mend a relationship, you have to remember that you forgiving them has nothing to do with what they do in return, right? I heard from, I think we had like a retreat in college, and the pastor was talking about how forgiveness it's not between what they did and what they can do for you to forgive them. Like forgiving this person is between you and God, right? You come to God with your emotions, all your anger, right? And you say, God, I want to forgive them. They don't have to do anything. So don't ever say, I'll forgive them if, right? Just forgive. Yeah.
That's very good.
Actually, forgiving someone, it's much more of a blessing to yourself than to them. They don't feel anything. It's to you that you now no longer hold a grudge. And it's between you and God to set yourself free from being burdened with unforgiveness. And you're so right. Forgiving, it's a one-sided decision. It's you, yourself, own decision. Different from reconciliation. Reconciliation takes both sides. But forgiveness is really the greatest blessing and choice for you, yourself to make.